We are live.
All right, I'll go tweet it too.
Okay, I'm gonna play some music while we wait.
Yeah, that's fine.
Get the vibes going.
Sweet.
Okay, we got the vibes going. I think everybody's hopped in, so we can probably go ahead and get started. Are you here?
Yo, what's going on?
Hey, okay, so everybody, this is SuperChillen for those of you that don't know him. I don't know exactly what I want to do as a proper intro. There's a lot of things I could say. How long have we been friends for now? Like 2019? Or maybe
Yeah, could probably
2020?
going on like 4 years.
Yeah,
No,
something
it
like
was
that.
2019, pretty sure.
So I've gotten to see, ups and downs and all sorts of shit from him, so it's been pretty cool to see. So I think the two like focal points that we're going to talk about today are going to be one, I'm really interested to hear his thoughts on kind of macro outlook and ETH in particular, and then also gonna have him talk about the idea of recovering from enormous loss and making it back, and you know, uh, not getting mentally beaten down by that, which is what happens to most people. So, voice much deeper than I imagined. It's true. He's got like the deepest voice out of anybody I've ever talked to, honestly. So, anyways, I don't know. Do you want to do like a brief introduction for yourself?
Yeah, sure. So what's going on, everyone? Pretty much like Matt is saying, I've known him since 2019. We were in a small Discord together, but before that, I've pretty much been involved in crypto since 2016, 2017. Gone through a lot of ups and downs, made tons of money, lost tons of money, made tons of money, lost tons of money. But I'm really like into the space a lot. I think it's amazing what people are building here. And that's why I can't leave, even after losing, um, losing a bunch of times. So yeah, other than that, yeah, pretty much had a I had a traditional job where I was a product manager for a supply chain company, but pretty much went full time into crypto into 2019, and I started trading in 2017, but I was pretty much learning for myself, so pretty much just have learned from a few people, and then like what everyone always says, it's tons of screen time. So now this is what I do, so can't
Yeah.
leave.
And you'd say you have a pretty like simple system, right? I mean, you're not like over here trying to overcomplicate things.
Yeah, no, it's pretty simple. I mean, I've bounced between like I guess whatever technical analysis and order flow. Like I kind of use both. Mainly technical analysis from like a high time frame standpoint. Um, and then like when I'm confident what I think is going to happen, I start to look at the flow more using XO charts or something like that. So yeah, not probably a lot different than most people since I kind of combine both, but everyone has their own bread and butter, I guess.
Yeah, but I just there's definitely a theme with people that are actually able to pull money out of the markets that they kind of aim for a more simplistic approach. That's something that I always got like the vibe from you is that I'm not trying to like say that you're not doing cool shit. I just mean like you're not over here trying to overcomplicate things on purpose, which is like what people do. They just keep adding shit in until all of a sudden you have this like clusterfuck of an approach.
Yeah, I
Um,
pretty much have used like one indicator.
yeah,
That's
like the
about
awesome
it.
oscillator mostly, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's my
exactly.
favorite right there out of all the like the standard indicators.
Yeah, shout out CBS.
Okay, well, so I don't know. Do you have a preference on which topic you want to kind of get into? We can kind of open them up to questions later on, but I think we should fixate on the two main topics first.
No, it doesn't matter. We can jump into market stuff, or what are you thinking?
I personally think the bounce back conversation is more hype, so I think we should start there if you're down.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so kind of like I said earlier, I want like to let you kind of take the reins and talk about it. But I'll like basically the introduction, guys. For those of you that don't know, is I've watched Chillin like take huge L's and then just bounce right back, which is really uncommon. Most of the time, when I watch my peers get smacked down, they just give up pretty much like first time it happens. Or maybe like one or two tries they'll give it another. But like this guy just keeps coming back stronger every time, and it's just like really wild to see. So that was the reason, like one of the main reasons why I wanted to have him on today, is to just talk about what the fuck's going on in your brain when you like lose, like you get rugged by FTX, you lose money, and then you just like make it all back like it's nothing. Like what's going on in your mind?
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely not easy for sure. So I guess I'll start from like the beginning. So in 2017, yeah, I guess that was it. Like I bought S super early, rode up the entire trend, started learning how to trade, and of course, like, what's the first thing I do? I start touching leverage. So like during the 2017 bull run, made a bunch of money, and then as soon as the bear market hit and everything started nuking, of course, like started longing the dip after not ever going through a bear market in my life. So pretty much round trip that entire cycle. And from there, like it was, I still had like a traditional job. It was still like super in the infancy days. Like crypto really wasn't on the map at all. So I was confident that, I'd be able to survive that. And, it was just going to go higher. So I really wasn't worried because, yeah, I just had money saved, had a traditional job, everything like that. But definitely this past cycle, yeah, it was quite the mental battle. I did great. Like I remember, I think it was 2019. Like everyone was when we were chilling above 10K. Um, Everyone was like, "Oh, it's not a bull market or whatever." And I was telling people I don't think we break 10K, and I just kept longing like that entire trend the entire way. So I ended up making a bunch of money. Also, like made a bunch of money on altcoins too. But of course, after not learning anything from the previous cycle, um, like I thought there was like a paradigm shift where crypto wouldn't nuke as much as it did. So like I was longing like the downtrend a little bit, but I still had like a ton of money left over. Where it got kind of darker is once we started dipping under 2K, I was like, all right, well, I think the bottom's coming soon. Um, Yada yada yada, and then all of a sudden 3AC blows up. I got liquidated on some huge longs there. Um, Luna blew up. Of course, I don't know if you look back at my feed, but I was telling everyone Luna was going to go to like $500, which obviously wasn't the case. But like what I did is I was longing the death spiral, which is completely idiotic. You should not be taking huge positions if you don't know how the protocol functions. So took like a 7-figure loss, longing the Luna death spiral. Took 7-figure loss long the 3AC liquidation night, and then round tripped a bunch of NFT profits, had a huge NFT portfolio, pretty much nuked all that. And then like the icing in the cake was when FTX went under, lost like my remaining trading balance. And like now being full time in crypto, yeah, I had some money saved, but it was definitely like not enough to feel comfortable. Like I have a fiance now, and I got engaged. So it was like um, super depressing. Honestly, I like didn't know what to tell her. All this stuff, like what to tell my family. Like I ended up having to. I asked like one of the buddies in Wetards for like a loan, and they gave it to me. So I pretty much used that to make it all back. Like after the FTX thing happened, I took like a couple weeks off because I was like super depressed. I pretty much like needed some like mental relaxation and just to get away from the computer because I knew if I went right back to it, I'd be revenge trading and that probably wouldn't end well. But like from a making it all back perspective, like one of the things I'm good at and that I was good at last cycle is like kind of finding the interim bottom or like the macro bottom. Sure, I might long the downtrend the entire way. But as soon as the bottom comes, like I feel like I perform really well following a trend. So pretty much when BTC went to like 15K, I like max longed it on like with super small trading balance and ended up catching the bottom and like getting a huge return like immediately as it pumped to 17K because I was on such high leverage. And then um, kept trading the 16 to 17K range for a few weeks. I was pretty confident we didn't make new lows. I was kind of just like winging it, like, all right, I'm gonna long here and just put my liquidation under the lows, which really you shouldn't be doing. Um, but yeah, that's kind of how it started. And then I started noticing the high time frame indicator starting to switch. Like the awesome oscillator was looking good. I don't know if anyone ever used the whole suite, but the weekly started to turn green, and then yeah, from then I just got a lot of conviction and started longing and pretty much hitting a lot of the major moves in the past 5 months. So um, I like almost wanted to quit and go back to my old job, but like I love this space too much, and I think crypto is going to be involved in our lives moving forward, especially as AI becomes more prominent. I think there's a lot of applications it has, um, and so yeah, fortunately made not all of it back, but definitely comfortable now. So it's kind of the spiel on what happened last cycle.
It's an incredible story. Like, not very many people would want to be so honest about it like that. So, definitely respect to you for just saying it how it is, honestly. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
it's
question I
really
had was
important.
around
It's really
conviction.
important the people around you too. Like
That's a good point.
making friends in this space. I know we all ship post on Twitter, but having like a solid group of people you can talk to every day
Yeah.
is probably like the most important part, honestly.
Yeah, for sure. Inspiration and like that kind of support and stuff, definitely. Hisaka brought you here. What did Hisaka do?
Oh, is he in the chat?
I guess I don't know. Um, Okay, cool. So, good segue is basically around the conversation of conviction because I think that that's going to kind of tie over into your thesis because I imagine that's how you had the conviction that you had. So, basically, to frame it in question, how I look at my timeline, and generally speaking, um, it's just flip floppy, right? Everybody knows that. Most of the time, you don't see people that just say stay bullish or stay bearish for prolonged periods of time. And like a lot of the time, when the blood wave comes through and everybody starts flipping bear, I would just see you just like full confidence, like "fuck you guys," we're going back up type of tweets. And I just wonder, like, where does that come from? Because that's not
Yeah,
a common thing by any
yeah.
means.
So, like essentially, like where relative to like where the market had gone, um, and like I guess the range Eth was building, like as soon as BTC and S started breaking out of that, like that's like your indication that okay, the bottom's in. At least in my opinion, sure we can have an echo bubble and go back and retest like maybe low 20K or something like that. But it's mainly just having belief in that, especially with sentiment, like given that traditional the trad markets, I think, bottomed as well. Like inflation's been coming down like for several months. Like one of the websites I use to really check that and is Trueflation, and like what Trueflation was estimating is that it just keeps coming down. Um, what I really didn't have any experiences in is kind of like the Fed raising rates. So like I didn't really know what to think of that. Obviously, that's bad for markets, but yeah, it was essentially I really just thought everyone got torched. Everyone was liquidated. All the centralized lenders blew up. Like, how much worse can it really get? It's like that meme that we would always keep posting. Like, I mean, it really can't get worse unless the U.S. bans crypto or something, or like the current onslaught that they're currently, like operating on. We keep getting tons of, cases and bad news, but if you look at the price isn't doing much. So, what does that tell you? Um, like, I think the only time we really got nukes on some news is when the US government started moving their Bitcoin and they sold like 10K Bitcoin on Coinbase like a month ago. But generally, when the market is not moving on bad news, when you have like, especially like being here for 7 years, like this is the worst news flow I've ever seen, and the market's back at 30K. So um, that's like another hint right there. Like, I mean, how much lower can we drift if the news isn't really nuking us at all, especially after breaking out of some long ranges? Like, I don't know. It just seems like the market wants to go up more. Um, and now there's like kind of all the banks are collapsing. Well, Bitcoin was born in the out of the 2008 financial crisis, and I think there's a narrative. I mean, people have talked about it on Twitter. There's a narrative for that. Eth has undergone like huge protocol upgrades. Yeah, gas fees suck, and the throughput isn't there yet, but hopefully they start working on that next. Like now, like the technology is great, especially with all the sanctions as well. Like when the stuff with Russia was going on, like I've been a huge ETH maximalist my entire life, but or like my entire time in crypto. But what I've come to learn is like honestly, like at this point, Bitcoin is like the most um I think is the best collateral in the world because can't be sanctioned against it. It's a super hard asset. You control it. There's a finite supply. I think, I'm not going to talk about the flipping or anything like that, but I think within the next 10 years, Bitcoin will probably be some of the best collateral there is, and that it will be used in, um, finance and other parts of getting loans and stuff like that, or back in, if you go to buy a house and you got to post up collateral, stuff like that. Like I truly think it's kind of, especially after the past year or two, crypto's kind of cemented itself, and we're kind of seeing that now with countries are starting to become more lenient on it. The protocol upgrades are working, stuff like that. So I really just have super high conviction in crypto succeeding and going a lot higher than most people think. So that's
Yeah, that's
probably where
kind of
my
what
conviction
where I
comes from
figured
too.
it came from when I asked that question because you have a lot more conviction than I see from other people with your directional bias sometimes, and I think it, my understanding is coming if you're like just long term bullish, as bullish as you are on the space and stuff, then it just becomes a lot easier to stick with that setup whenever it comes your way to like what you had in late December, early January.
Yeah. Like Mario was saying, tech, don't say the tech is great. Yeah, the tech's not great yet, but the fact that, like, if I wanted to, I could deposit some ETH, borrow against it, could, if I needed 5K to help my sister pay off her car, I could go borrow against my ETH right away, take a loan out, send her cash. Like that, just that aspect alone is powerful. Now, of course, you're your own worst enemy and how much you borrow against and stuff like that, but that's up to you. But the fact that people are able to do that is, um, I think, pretty big. So I think it's going to open up a lot of stuff in the future. I do think also like a lot of assets are going to be tokenized. Maybe even our houses. So, but that's probably not for another 5, 10 years. Um, I'm actually not even sure. Like, what is the next update for ETH?
I'm the last person in the world you ever want to ask that. I'm so dumb at that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I don't even know. I
I
haven't.
mostly trade the chart and the flow and then let my friends that are smarter than me tell me about protocol upgrades and things like that.
Yeah, but I mean, so far, it's everything that I've pretty much assumed it was gonna blossom into. It's met my expectations. So there's no reason to leave now, especially when it's getting interesting. And like the meme, if you lose stuff and like with the dude mining for the diamonds, that shit's real. You pretty like you'll never make it if you give up. Like no matter how long it takes, if you actually like what you do and learn from your mistakes, like you'll you'll hopefully make it. Like what I've started to do now is like I'm not really a scalper. I never really short crypto just because I think shorting crypto is kind of I just hate shorting crypto honestly. Um, but what I've been getting better at is like taking profit now when it hits a certain level and usually I'd round trip stuff a lot because I tend to hold positions for a few days or even like a few weeks. So I think that's pretty important as well, which I've kind of opened my eyes the past few months. I've been doing that a lot more, and it feels great, honestly. So
Yeah, right on. Okay. So I guess we you kind of already covered a lot of your macro thesis. Did you leave any bit of that out though? Just to highlight, because when we were chatting, I don't remember when it was, like, I don't know, almost a week ago. We were talking about, uh, yeah, just kind of how you saw ETH playing out over the next decade, which I thought was super interesting. Because I kind of, without fully understanding the tech side of things, I see it playing out pretty similarly, where Bitcoin and ETH continue to mature into more established assets, and then from there, because it's all about
yeah,
like perception. As the legitimacy becomes more and more acknowledged, it only makes sense that they're gonna get, like what you were saying about using Bitcoin as collateral for a loan seems so wild right now, right? Because it's just totally impossible right now. But we don't know at 10 years what is Bitcoin's volatility gonna look like, right? Bitcoin might not move, theoretically. So
yeah, yeah. Maybe the volatility dies down in the next decade or so, and then all that becomes possible. But yeah, I mean, for ETH, like the fact that you can stake an asset, earn interest on it, um, and an asset that's in its infancy and keep compounding. Like in my opinion, ETH is going way higher from here. Like especially over the next 10, 20 years. Like I don't really think it's gonna die. Like I I'd I'd be lying if I said I was kind of nervous about the government's trying to censor smart contracts. Um, so I'm not sure how that's going to play out, but yeah, I mean, essentially, if you have validators on ETH right now, it's the best savings account you can have, in my opinion, because ETH price is low. You're earning more than a bank gives you if you're just keeping money in there. Plus, you have all of the guaranteed upside on ETH, and I think you're earning more ETH to compound as well as the years go by. So from like a long term standpoint, I think staking ETH is great for savings, especially because you can, ETH is an asset that you can borrow against. You can do all this other sorts of stuff. It's just kind of how I think about it. So
yeah, the other day
as
you referenced the whole ETH thing like a savings account, which I thought was an interesting argument that I hadn't heard before. Can you maybe touch on that a little bit, just to like perspective of viewing it that way?
yeah, so like I was saying, like I think ETH is super cheap in regards to the long term valuation of it. Um, so like I'm fairly confident, like within the next 5 years, that is going to go above five figures. So what do I want to do in the meantime? I just want to keep stacking spot ETH, earning yield on it, and just keep compounding that. I think it's like one of the safest plays from like someone who's young to like take some risk as well. Like I know Degen Spartan talks a lot about this, so you can reference some of his posts. But yeah, I essentially just think ETH is super cheap. It's going to become a huge thing um, in the next 5, 10 years, and it's just a great asset to keep your money on, and also keep earning more ETH with it if you're staking. So it's kind of how I feel about that. And like from a savings account, like I don't want a savings account just sitting in. I just don't want cash sitting in a bank. Yeah, you could buy stocks, but I don't have as much conviction in certain stocks just because I don't spend any time there. So I spend all my time in the crypto markets. That's what I have conviction in. So from that outlook, I just think ETH is the best asset to put money in long term.
Yeah. So, like, just thinking out loud here, my like spot allocations are like nothing compared to what they used to be in the past, just because I didn't like fully transition to just going full out risk just yet. because I do think that we kind of have a lot more chopping to do. But I have to say though that I am like as we progress through 2023, starting to I don't want to call it FOMO, but feeling like I need to prioritize getting back into accumulation mode again because that's what I did, in um 2020 and maybe early 2019 was really kind of focused on that accumulation mode. And I mean that shit probably is going to outperform any sort of trading you could do where you just accumulate something and then it goes up 10x. I mean that's what ETH went
Yeah.
up way more than 10x last cycle, I think. And I think
Yeah, if I would have never traded, I'd be retired by now, but we're all degens.
but I'm just getting that vibe like when ETH was like $200-300, like we're like in the very very early stages of that kind of period is what I kind of feel like, where I do want to kind of buy any significant dips for spot accumulation for longer term.
Yeah. So like my thesis for like the first half of this year was playing out pretty well until the last week or so. Um, like, is it an echo bubble or not? Um, I don't think so. I could be wrong. Like, I think the top's in right now? I don't think so, but we got to see how like the next, I guess, this week goes, just because we did, come back a lot into like some previous ranges. But like comparing the other echo bubble, like technically, if this if it's to mimic the same thing, Bitcoin still has another 15K to go. And what I've kind of been assuming is like inflation's still coming down. Like based on the website I use, um, like F just broke out of a range. Like, is it gonna head fake and go back into it? I hope not. I like from a fundamental standpoint, like I don't know why it would head fake when it just went through a massive upgrade and actually deposits are increasing. So that doesn't make sense to me. Plus, there's like narratives now. I think people are starting to lose trust in their own governments and like centralized institutions. Not to beat a dead horse, but I truly think like we're kind of on the cusp of a paradigm shift in this regard. Like at some point, people are going to start to lose trust in some of their institutions, and they're going to have to, in my opinion, if they don't allocate a percentage of their net worth, um, that's not like really responsible from a financial standpoint. Like I've been saying on Twitter, like I think Bitcoin's going to 60K. Like I haven't really been shit posting on that. I truly think it can really go a lot higher than people expect this quarter. Um, we just got to see how the next week or two goes. And yeah,
Yeah, so
maybe
with what
not
you're talking
60K,
about,
but I think it can go to 50K for sure. Does that sound crazy? Hell yeah, that sounds crazy. But this market is fucking insane, and it never does what you expect it to do.
So with what you're talking about, I'm really torn with that stuff because we do definitely feel like we're at the kind of early stages. Like the last big cycle was led off of actual like fundamentals from things like DeFi actually working and stuff. So that's kind of something I'm looking for again, is like when are we actually hitting that kind of new wave of tech developments, because I do think that that's a large thing that will lead us there. But the thing that I struggle with the most is that I don't think that the liquidity argument is there yet, which is the main thing that has me worried about betting on like lots of upside continuation. Is that I just don't know that there's going to be money continuing to enter in. So, you know, it's all a guess because at the end of the day, I have no idea. You can't guess what people are going to do tomorrow or anything. But that's the one thing that has me cautious and leaning into the echo bubble narrative more. It's just liquidity. And the last cycle took so long. Like, I know you remember it because you survived it like I did. The following the bear market, the echo bubble, and then the chop afterwards was just so hard to survive that stuff. In hindsight, when you look at the chart nowadays, because it went up so much, it looks like just a blip on the spectrum. But it was hard to trade back then, and
Yeah,
hard to survive.
I remember like right before the COVID nuke happened, we started going up again, and I was like, damn, I think the bull market's starting again. And the freaking COVID shit hit, and we nuked to fucking several $100. I
Yep.
mean, it started after that, but I was fairly sure it was starting like right before then. Of course, got nuked on that. I was fucking snowboarding in Colorado. I had some swing longs open, and of course, I'm in the mountains. The like 4 days that went down was terrible, or whatever it was. But it started after that. Like personally, I think like when Bitcoin trends like this, like it's super hard to like take the other side or like try and call it tough until like something really breaks. Like I don't think we've even reached that point yet. Like we're back up at 30K now. Like what happens if we flip this block here and it starts going up to 40Ks now? Like people are talking about don't fade GCR and stuff. Yeah, GCR is a great trader. He's in some groups I'm in. Talk to him sometimes. But you know, I don't think everyone has 100% strike rate. You can be really good at what you do and um, make a wrong call. And as people keep following calls like that, right, there's like decay in a sense. So I don't know. I'm still bullish and think we can go up to 40K, but I'm really curious how this week plays out. Like yesterday, I was talking to yesterday morning, like before New York open, I was talking about how I was expecting relief for 2 days um, along the bottom, but of course I cut it right away because it started looking sketchy again. But here we are back at 30K. Caught some of the move. But yeah, I think the next few days are pretty important. So
I was saying the same thing on stream yesterday, so I kind of want to highlight that the GCR thing in particular really like bugs me when people come in the chat and then say that. I just my argument yesterday was that, I mean, you should only care about like what GCR says if it's like, I hate to, this is kind of a actual bad lesson, but when it confirms your bias, right? So when your system already tells you that it's over and you should short, and he says that, maybe it makes you have stronger conviction. But if you've been longing this and then he says take profit, and then you are just all of a sudden like, we go down 5% and you just puke everything and you say it's over, like you're a loser, because you need to do things on your own more than that. You can't just like have somebody say take profit and then you just are literally a fucking algorithm, just like he gave you a sell signal so you execute your sells. Like you got to be more individual than that for sure, than just blindly following
yeah,
people.
like don't get me wrong, I've blindly followed people before. I've blindly followed GCR before, but like when I have a thesis, and that's something that's important too. Like when I have conviction in my thesis, I try not to let anyone affect that. Because 9 times out of 10, like when I have conviction in something, at least in the past, and I've seen someone post something, and then you know what, this person's like shaking me out, and I've closed. The fucking thing always does what I expected it to do. Mostly, it's like just you shouldn't let other people like you should listen to other people's opinions, but you should not just blindly follow them. Like you should hear what they have to say and really think about it. But if you have a thesis and conviction that you've spent a lot of time on, why are you going to let one tweet change that? That shouldn't be a thing.
Yeah, that's not even like a data point, right? Like a data point in your system. That's like a subjective thing. It's really, really difficult to like quantify and like actually make like sentiment or tweets or something a part of your actual system, unless you're like a fucking news trader or something, which is totally different. But yeah, so
Yeah.
anyways, that was just a good thing to highlight, just because I think it's a big mistake that people are making. I get it, the GCR clearly is a good trader. He's made some good calls. There's no denying that. But you shouldn't just like change your approach to things because somebody tweets something like that. Also, he could just
Yeah.
flip right back like this. He could be next week
Exactly.
saying it's time to be bullish again. So also, like,
Yeah, for
nothing about
sure.
the trend actually, in my opinion, nothing from a derivative standpoint, nothing from a momentum standpoint, and nothing from a order flow standpoint, it tells me that it's over yet. We could be setting up for like the higher low on lower time frame right now, and we could be over for a bit. That argument's valid. Like I presented that this morning, but I just think that like bigger time frame, it's clearly super bullish still. So it was just crazy to me
Yeah.
to see the timeline. All it took was a little bit of blood on February, and actually I think some of the blood came on. I said February, I meant Friday, but I think actually a lot of the blood came in on Saturday actually on the lower liquidity weekend. I think we bled a lot during that. And everybody's bias going into the week just was completely bearish. And Sunday night, I'm sitting there saying, like, nothing's really changed. I'm not going to sit here and say I hero bought the dip or anything, but I didn't change my thesis at all. So people got to be a little more patient with your macro shit.
Yeah, I didn't change my thesis. I definitely cut like all my positions like at 29.3 and then was looking to get back in yesterday, but of course cut and now here we are. So I TP'd some this morning. I longed like 1865 last night and now I'm just waiting to see where we close. Um, but yeah, like I think inflation is going to keep coming down. I think like with First Republic Bank now, like honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if some smaller banks start failing again. Because what is the Fed probably going to hike another 25 basis points? Probably, I think is what's getting priced in. I think it's like if you look at other times when the Fed has either like paused rates, like personally, I think the Fed's going to pause rates this quarter. Um, Maybe not, but that's what my thesis is. So because inflation's been coming down, so if Bitcoin can get to like 40, 50K and the Fed pauses rates, I think that's your signal to go just chill on summer break for a little bit. Because I don't necessarily think we're gonna go in a straight up in a straight line. Like my ideal scenario is we go to like 40, 50K, then we pretty much just drift lower all Q3, maybe back to 30K or something, and then the true bull market starts Q4 and into 2024, 25. So, I mean, I said like when I do this stuff, I kind of set a whole plan and from a high, like I like to think from a high time frame because I'm not really a scalper. I don't really short. I just pretty much trade the market one way when I think there's opportunity. So,
Yeah, so a quick point I wanted to make off what you said earlier was you said my thesis didn't change, but at 29.3, I think was the level you said, like you cut your risk. So that's a really good lesson to explain that you should be separating your thesis and your belief in things from your risk because those aren't necessarily the same thing. So I do that all the time where I still have conviction in a trend, up or down, doesn't matter, but I'll invalidate my risk because I don't want to risk losing more money than I've already lost in this moment. So I will invalidate myself and then look for another setup that supports that thesis. But there's kind of this like misconception, I think, that like, oh, my stop loss got hit and we made a lower low in an uptrend. So my thesis is wrong. I should be looking for a short the next time we go up. But the reality is that you just took a shitty long and your thesis is probably still right and you need to be looking for the next long, right? And instead of just being on the wrong
yeah,
side of it
exactly.
over and over again. So I think that that's a good point to make for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Like, especially like after losing everything and then making a lot of money the past few months, like I don't, from a mental standpoint too, and I have more responsibilities now. I can't be fucking around with round tripping shit. So as soon as the market started to look sketchy now, and just like I was saying, like I take profit way more often, because it's just like we're so like at least me like I can lose $2,000 in crypto and be perfectly like just not even think about it. Like the way we view money is so fucked up. Like making $1,000 a day even is a lot of money for someone. Like if you do that every day, that's 30 grand a month. You know how much money that is?
Yeah,
That's
and
like
CT is
you're
gonna
in the
call you
top one
poor for
percent of
that.
on yeah, like our sense of money is so fucked up that that's I think a huge problem a lot of people have too. Like sometimes I'll be up 5K and I hang out with like Rookie and Keyboard Monkey and all those guys and they're posting huge P&Ls and same thing like with what you see on Twitter. People are posting huge P&Ls, but like in the grand scheme of things, if you can consistently make money every day, like whether it's 1K or 2K or even $100, $200, wherever you're coming from, like crypto has desensitized people to how much money certain thresholds really are. So I think that's important too. And I started to finally realize that the past few months, and that's actually helped out a lot.
Yeah, that's a good point. That probably attribute or contributes a lot to people's lack of profit taking So I can use some of my earlier examples, right? Where, you know, in my earlier days, crypto would, I was an idiot, but I'd get lucky and crypto would carry me up, and you're up. If you are able to successfully separate yourself from the situation, you would realize that that's a ton of money, right? Like if I told my coworkers that I'm up multiple six figs right now off of just buying some of these fucking stupid things, they would have shit their pants, right? And in my mind, though, I'm telling myself like it's not enough. Like this is like I'm not like rich, right? Even though like you are relative to like everybody around you. So if you can like
Yeah,
separate yourself and realize that making $100,000 or whatever is actually a lot of money, for one trade, right? So
yeah.
it's just so
Like I,
important.
yeah, I think like you don't realize it until you've done it. Like if you have this problem, for example, like if you make a promise to yourself where market conditions are good and you're trading, I promise you, if you take profit for 3 weeks straight, like you're trading, you're actively taking profit, scalping, whatever, during that 3 weeks, to where if you just held one position, your mental will be way better and you'll actually see that, wow, it's actually a lot easier to make money this way and accumulate money when conditions are easy. So when conditions are easy and you're taking profit all the time, like I don't really know how to explain it from that like sensitivity standpoint. You really can't start to ingrain it in your brain until you actually commit to that type of activity over a period of a month or something like that. Because then you have stuff to look back on that. Damn, what was I doing? I just did all this. I, you know, listened to my setups and now I have this money in my account. Where'd that come from? Where if you're just stressing about a huge swing, you're taking crazy leverage or, just pretty much operating on hopium. Like I think if you have that look back period, take profit, you'll actually be super shocked with how much money you can accumulate.
Yeah, great point. Great point. I think
And
a
that
really
took me
simple quote
7
from
years to learn.
CBS a long time ago. Sorry to cut you off. Really simple quote from CBS I heard a long time ago that I liked was he said, "When you look at your P&L and you say, is that like a meaningful amount of money? Like you just take it regardless of what the chart says," which I thought was like a good way of looking at it. It's not always about like squeezing. I can't tell you guys how many of my good trades are closed out early, and like I'm happy with that at the end of the day. Like it's really a good approach. A lot of the times you just like lock it in and say fuck it. I don't care about the other parts. I think the one time where you are me and you sell your chain link at $5 and then it goes to $50 or any I sold my lend when it was like before it was Ave when it was like it had no value at all and I would have been like worth 10 million or literally like $50 million I probably would have made. The two experiences you have in crypto where that happens fuck you up on every other trade because you want that like, well, what if I hold it for another 6 months instead of just taking profit?
Yeah, yeah, and I mean you can get into a separate discussion too, where you should have like a spot bag, a swing account, a scalp account.
Oh, for sure, that's
What you have, but
essential.
it's different for everyone. So, but yeah, everyone's different, and it's all. I mean, trading's easy. It's executing that's the hard part, and honestly, the hardest part is just mental shit. I mean, it's taken me 7 years to like realize this. So it's definitely, yeah, it's not easy. I
We
mean,
got some
most
good
people won't be able to do it, honestly, if they don't have, you know, discipline.
we got some good questions to address. First from Sluice, he is asking, do you think one of the main reasons why you were able to bounce back from the horrific losses is just basically because of your, enjoyment or kind of passion for the space? I think that that's kind of a given that that's probably why, but I'd love to hear your take on that.
Yeah. So, um, yeah, I mean, I pretty much log into Twitter every day. I'm super involved in the space. A lot of my like best friends now are actually people who I met on crypto Twitter, stuff like that. But yeah, I think if I wasn't super interested, I wouldn't be able to bounce back. Like what people always talk about, yeah, there's shit coins and stuff like this, and crypto is so volatile, blah blah. The space has so much opportunity in it that if you're here for a long enough period of time, you will get an opportunity to do something. Whether that's you use a protocol and you get a fat airdrop, or you stayed here with during the bear market and you're able to buy the bottoms with some spot and then you make like a crazy 50x. Um, yeah, I think the space is super exciting and it's super in its infancy. So if you stay long enough and you actually really do care about it and you use your head, um, you can either make it back or hopefully make some money for yourself. So yeah, it's super important just staying active.
Yeah, I totally agree. That's been the theme from everybody that I know that's made real money is that it's just the survivor mindset that if you there's so much opportunity in the space that if you can survive all the pain that normally washes out people, right? So when the liquidation events come through, as long as you can survive those things, then you're going to have big opportunities to follow. And the thing is that a lot of people just end up getting just either you financially, right, like your resources get drained and you can't, or you like mentally get drained and you don't want to do it anymore. Those are like the kind of two ways that people give up. I would probably argue that the mental draining is probably actually more common than people like actually losing all their money. Now I don't have any data.
Yeah,
That's just tells me that.
yeah, I'd agree with that. Like what I'd say too, like if you're just chilling on Twitter all day, um, like what you should be doing is like branching out and like whether it's what are the hot new things right now? I mean, Arbitrum's been here for a while, but Arbitrum just did an airdrop. There's the ZK Sync stuff now that people are bridging to. Like if you're sitting on Twitter all day shit posting and not doing anything with your time, that's like idiotic. You should spend like 30 minutes or an hour a day if you're actually involved in the space, like testing out different protocols or like um, seeing like doing some swaps on a different app that can potentially do an airdrop or just like seeing how stuff works, like bridging to certain things. Like if you're not doing any of that and you're just shit posting on Twitter all day, you're actually it's pretty stupid, honestly, because you don't find stuff on Twitter. Yeah, I'm sure there's accounts that leak whatever quote unquote alpha, but if you're not like in the trenches or have a solid group of people who are also doing the same thing, you're kind of wasting your time, to be
Yeah,
honest.
use Twitter to meet people, and then most of the important conversations happen off of Twitter. But it's a great like network to meet people on. I met literally everybody I know in crypto, unless I met them in a Discord from like friend of a friend. I probably met them on Twitter.
Yeah, exactly. So
Jim had a good question here we can go over. This really pertains to you with what you did over the past couple of months. So, Jim said, I would be interesting to talk about compounding an account and the difficulties around mentally, from the execution standpoint. So, with what you did over the past couple of months, you grew an account quick. And we should dive into like kind of the psychology around what it feels like to actually grow an account and like stay mentally like I don't want to say stable, but just stay level headed about things. Because what happens to almost everybody when that you get way ahead of yourself, the ego gets inflated or whatever, and you're all of a sudden you start you're zero again. Basically, you got to start over. So I'd love to hear from you on that.
yeah, so this time, let's see what happened. So this time, well, the bottom came in 15Ks. I started longing that, and let me see. Let me pull up the Bitcoin chart real quick. Yeah, so looking at the Bitcoin chart, like obviously I lost like my entire trading account and got like a couple $1,000 from a friend to start it back up. And like what I was initially looking at is like I'm not gonna lie, I was like mentally defeated. I was like, fuck, I need to take a break, but you know what? Um, how much worse can it really get? Like the fucking meme I was telling myself in my head. And I pretty much just longed Bitcoin on the high leverage, which is idiotic, um, I guess, in the grand scheme of things. But I was pretty confident the lows was in it was going to go up. Like looking at the awesome oscillator, that's like the only indicator I use pretty much. And on the weekly time frame, based on everything I've learned and have observed about it, is it was like printing the bottom. So I caught like a good long to 17K, and then that period of time we were between 16 and 17K. I just kept like taking profit at 17K and scalping because we couldn't break it. So like I was just saying like a few minutes ago, like what I've like learned this time around is to actually like take profit. Like if that was me, the prior me, I'd be sitting in a 16K long after scalping that entire range and round tripping it for a month straight. Um, like I was able to make a lot of money because I caught the move. Like uh, if you look, remember Bitcoin went from like 17K to 20K in like a day or something like that, or a few days. I made a bunch of money, like being super leveraged on Bitcoin there, and then I started to chill out a little bit. Um, and I thought uh, alts would kind of follow. So what I actually did is I told myself, all right, I'm going to take like a more calm approach now that I think I'd ran my account up to like six figs at that point. Um, and I told myself, all right, I just got fucking wiped out. I'm just gonna chill. I'm gonna look for a setup that I think like I have conviction in. And at the time, no one was talking about it, but I think Andre Crunch, the Phantom guy, and who's the father of DeFi, whatever you want to call him, was like about to have think like a conference in Miami or something like that. And I didn't see anyone talking about it. I actually got like a DM from someone who told me, bro, you need to check out Phantom. So I started looking at Phantom, and based on what I saw, like Bitcoin do with like awesome oscillator and stuff, I was like, damn, well, Phantom hasn't moved yet. Andre Cronje is starting to tweet. He's come back to Twitter. He's starting to tweet more. The Phantom Foundation has a massive war chest. Okay, he has a few events coming up. So I'm gonna swing long Phantom on like 3x at like 29 cents or something like that. And I pretty much just sat in that and didn't like scalp at all. Like I told myself like, okay, if this is gonna do what I think it's gonna do, then I can just chill on this and not do anything. Just literally do what I need to do for a few weeks. So yeah, Phantom went to like 30 to 60 cents, and I got like 100% on that position in like a couple weeks. And I was in like a 3x long from 100K. So I was able to double that up and make a bunch of money that way. And I really wasn't chasing anything. Like like my biggest wins come from having conviction in a position and just like kind of sitting in it. Like if I'm scalping, I don't do too well because like I'm ADD, I'm over analyzing everything, I'm looking at too much stuff and stuff like that, and I can't operate that way. So like mainly I just try and take like a cool and calm approach now. Like most people are trading like seven different alts at once, but like me, I kind of suck at trading alts because I don't really scalp. So like there's people who take like seven positions on alts and they're playing all these shares. Like I don't have the attention for that. Like what I'm good at is pretty much just looking at Ethereum and Bitcoin. Like the alts aren't my forte. So when I'm able to like Phantom was like once in a blue moon. It was like the bottom, and I just happened to time it right. And then as soon as I hit that, I started looking at FMBTC more, and I was able to grow my account now, just building longs there. And yeah, I mean, I really wasn't doing too much during the day. I was just sitting in swing longs, honestly. So like when people start taking, like I was talking a lot about this, like a few weeks ago, like when people start taking so many positions, it's kind of like or like even myself, like when I started like buying alts, or I'm in like four positions, that's like now a mental note to myself that I'm doing too much and I need to chill out, or we might be getting close to like a pullback because now I'm trying to do too much and there's starting to be a lot of frost. So mainly I try not to do a lot of positions. Mainly I'm in like one or two positions and that's it. So I don't know if that answered Jim's question, but
Yeah, so I'd like to add something. Hopefully, this will spur you to talk about it more. This is just kind of my observation, but basically, one of the things that Jim was kind of hinting at there is that like let me just use like random numbers to like illustrate my point, right? So you start off at like $10,000 and then you like, trade your way up to like $100,000. Every time you kind of hit like these kind of magical thresholds of numbers, that it does weigh more heavily on our psychology, that we like, I don't
For
know, we
sure.
get more fearful of loss, and we also simultaneously get more greedy at the same time. So both of those emotions really weigh in more heavily. So my observation is that the reason why someone like you is able to do this, and some of my other friends, even myself a little bit, because I had a similar situation. I lost a lot on FTX, just nowhere near as bad as you, and I did, gamble it back in early January. But I think the reason why people are able to do that is because you already have had that money before. That was the kind of the point I wanted to get at. So like, if you've never had $100,000 before and you're trading with $100,000, it's gonna go horribly for you probably. But if you've had $100,000 a bunch of times, it doesn't feel like you don't have those same like kind of emotions rising up. So I think what I'm trying to get at is like a lot of the people I know that make a lot of money, it's because they either have a lot of money already or have had a lot of money, and that changes how you like approach it. It makes it way easier, in my opinion, to stack up because like if you're a multimillionaire, it's really, really easy for you to go from like 50K account to like 100K account. Like that's actually pretty fucking easy if you're worth millions of dollars, right? Because you feel nothing when you're doing that. You're just playing a video game at that point almost. So I was wondering if you could touch on that, or if that
Yeah.
made any sense to you at all.
Yeah, honestly, I think it's kind of like from my mental standpoint, after losing everything, I actually thought I think it's a lot harder, but I can see both ways. Like the way you just described, I've had that way before too, but after like being in crypto for so long and then losing everything again and like being like, what the fuck am I doing? Like when I when I was starting to make money again, I was like scared of losing it. But what I did is I would just change my approach and try not to do too much. Like I think what people do is they run up their account and then they're like, damn, this is easy. And then they start trying to chase everything under the sun that's moving. And once you start doing that, you're going to get yourself into trouble because most people are not good enough to be managing five different positions at once. Um, which I think, most people, if you lose everything, it's important to, you know, focus on one asset mostly and have high conviction in it and just get dialed into that. Like if you run your account back up and you're like, damn, I'm the man, I'm gonna start punting seven different alts, well, you're just gonna fucking lose everything again, honestly, because alts are even more volatile than majors and um yeah, it's not really what I do. So I think it was actually harder. Um, but I also had like a better framework to operate in is that I'm really only going to focus on one or two assets. So, um, and then having conviction. But
Yeah, I think that's a good argument.
most people run up their accounts and they start taking some positions and then they get liquidated because, I mean, you got to be a fucking professional to manage seven different fucking trades at once, especially if you're scalping.
Yeah, so you were basically on Bitcoin and Phantom, right? I remember your Phantom bull posting because you were like super confident in it, and like every time it would go down, you'd bull post, and then like the next day it was like up again, like 10%.
Yeah, pretty much BTC and Phantom, and then started long in ETH again as we were like a
Phantom was
month
one of the
or month and a
strongest
half
coins at the
outside the
beginning of the
merge.
year. It was like up only 200%. It kind of got weak. You know what happened? I'm pretty
Yeah, it's
sure.
weak. What the fuck happened to it?
You
It's
know
been
what it
like
was,
dead in the
dude, is
water.
when AI was hot as shit. That was the narrative, and homie Andre came out and said Phantom is not an AI coin. He tweeted that, and then it was literally weak ever since then, in my opinion. I'm pretty sure
Yeah,
that's what
like
happened.
I think it still looks good, but it's not like the same type of trade you can take.
Yeah, I mean,
It's
I've
just like
traded a bit here and
consolidating on the
there, but
weekly.
it's nowhere near compared to things like what INJ were doing, and like even BNB right now, and like some of these other things that are just like, I know INJ got beat down pretty hard, but that was a coin throughout basically the entirety of the year was like my favorite coin to long because it just printed. Like INJ was ridiculous. And then it became the hated coin because it literally doubled in like a week, so everybody hated it because of that. and then it went down a lot. And yeah, it's probably a time for it to go up again. It seems.
Yeah, I see. I suck at like trading that stuff. The only hold I've really traded this year is just the Phantom, and I've traded Link a little bit. Like everyone hates Link, but
Oh, I love
um,
Link. I got a
I think
special place in
Link's
my heart for
chart
this
is some.
coin.
I think Link's chart's amazing. Like I don't know what the hell the teams got up their sleeve. Like part of I I want to believe that the tokenomics for Link change in the next few years, or maybe they update the protocol somehow. I don't know, but I think the Link chart looks fantastic. Like mainly, I only like I really only like longing alts if they're in like an accumulation range and they have a chance of breaking. It's like the only time I'll really try and gamble on them because it's good RR. It's an accumulation range. You really can't go much lower from here, and the upside's huge. So
Yeah, I keep it simple. I literally just use high time frame VWAPs, and whatever is consistently trading above all the VWAPs is something that I look to buy. I like have the most idiot system with altcoins, but it is ridiculous how I'm like basically always like because there's always like out of the whole basket of 1,000 altcoins, there's maybe like 5 to 10 that are like the Chad coins right now, and literally just scanning VWAPs and relative strength will help you highlight. You'll find like 8 out of 10 but just by doing that. So it's like the freest shit in my opinion. But I've always had a special
yeah,
place in my heart for Link, even though it's a cucked coin to trade a lot of the time. Like it literally went down. It went up only during the bear market and then down only during the bull market. So it's just like wild how that kind of works out. But I like Link because it helped me build up my first like legit trading stack to try to actually go out and trade off of because I was like a Link Marine when it was like 40 cents. I'm not afraid to admit
yeah.
it. But yeah, so
Honestly, I think
I
the
love
Link
Link.
curse is gonna break sooner or later. I think like now we all use it as like a canary in the coal mine. Still pretty much is kind of like it was pumping the other day to 90, and then the market fucking nuked. But I do think one day it won't be such a sell signal. So
Yeah, it's something
there's
to do
some
with
third
their
I was reading on
tokenomics, right? Isn't that what you were saying? Is that basically there's no like the value of the Link network is huge, right? Like that's undeniable. It's super important, but the value of the actual token, I don't think it has any purpose.
yeah, I don't
That's the
even know what the
problem.
tokenomics are. Really don't know what they are. I think I saw a thread on Twitter somewhere that I don't know if it's true or not. I didn't actually check it, but I think Sergey is running out of coins finally. I don't know. I got to go back and double check that, but
Sergey's been
thought I
dumping on everybody forever.
thought
That's
I
all
read
been a
that
meme for
somewhere.
so long.
Yeah, so we'll see. But didn't they release like a V2 white paper like a year ago or something? I don't know whatever happened with that. Or maybe that was a meme in itself. I don't remember. I gotta look.
Yeah, I
Probably will
couldn't
do
tell
that
you.
today.
All I know is it's the classic crypto phenomenon where it's not necessarily easy to like create value like an actual value proposition for the token. That's not like a lot of the time that's one of the arguments that gets made is that these protocols work and they have their use cases and shit, but the tokens are useless, and that is yeah, that's all anybody cares about is the value of the token anyways. Nobody really cares that much about this like, scaling solution or something for the most part, at least. They just want the token to go up so that they're not poor anymore.
Yeah. One more thing I wanted to like touch on, like
Yeah, what's up?
if you look up the weekly on Eth right now, like does that look like a top to you? Like
Hold up. We're
doesn't
pulling it
look
up
like
right now. No. I mean, it basically has like the same kind of structure as the Corn, though, for me. So I think that the ETH might actually have been. Oh, actually, no. The ETH looks stronger on the weekly than the Corn does. That's crazy.
yeah,
Um,
it looks great right now. Like we're above where I'd say, let's see, we're above like the other weekly 19 something. What is that? I wish I had the proper stuff so I could share my screen, but
we can just do that for goals for the next stream.
yeah, like we're above 1930s right now. We'll see if it can keep going up, but the weekly this looks like it's painting a bull flag to me.
Sure, yeah. Even though I'm looking at something totally different than you, 19 like 30 or 19 like 15, like so like give or take, 20 points is really important area for me as well. It's
Yeah,
quarterly VWAP and HVN.
yeah. So I don't know. I think the top's not in, and we're probably gonna go higher Q2, but there's gonna be some brutal dumps, and people are gonna get bearish. Like the last one we just had, like everyone thought it was over. Even like
Yeah,
the
but if
highest
you look at
conviction
the
bulls
chart,
cut
it
their
wasn't even a move really. Is That's why
yeah,
it's
even
so
the highest
crazy.
conviction bulls cut their positions and shit. And like for trend continuation, that's honestly what you want to see everyone giving up. So we'll see what happens over the next few days.
We literally just pulled back into previous range lows, and like had like a bunch of overlaps. So I'm not afraid to admit that like I totally thought we were gonna trade lower yesterday, but I was like on the stream saying like if you're pivoting to bearish right now, you're doing it wrong
I
because
thought we were about to nuke to 1760 on the
I
open
thought we were just
yesterday.
gonna go to like 26. I thought we'd just go like another 1,000 points, and that was gonna be my giga swing long area, but we just didn't do it. It is what
Yeah,
it is. It's too strong.
yeah, it happens. But
So we had a good question, kind of a generic one, but let me scroll up. From Born, what goes into your decision making to go risk on and risk off? So you already talked about going risk on. You definitely did that in detail, but what would make you worry to maybe consider going like actually risk off? I think that's a good question.
yeah, so essentially, like like if you look at really my focus has been on ETH now after Shanghai, so I'll just use that chart as like a roadmap. But essentially, like from like my high time frame indicator that I use, like the Awesome oscillator, I think that has room to expand up. From a risk off perspective, like if this weekly closes back under 1900, I think that's where I'd start to
What time frame are you looking at the
um,
AO on, so I can mirror that on my screen?
the weekly right now.
Okay.
Like it's kind
Yeah.
of
Okay. I see.
starting to flatten a little bit, but if this candle recovers like I think it can, then it's going to keep expanding. Generally, like
Yeah.
if we're trending, the weekly AO won't start coming back down. But I'm risk off if we close this weekly under 1900 pretty much. Like the weekly candle on ETH. Are you on BTC or ETH?
On BTC, I can switch to ETH really quickly though if you
Yeah,
want
can you
to.
switch to ETH?
Yep. What do we got?
So the week All right, so yeah, that weekly candle, if that closes under that first high, like when we V'd from the Three Arrows capital liquidation, when was that? July.
So
So
like
if we start,
18.
yeah, if we start closing under like, yeah, that 1930 or whatever that line you have there, like if we start closing back underneath those candles on the weekly, I'd start to get concerned.
What's the
I'd
price
probably
point
take
you're
a,
looking at though? You said 19 or 18?
yeah, like 1912,
Okay,
pretty
so
much
you
under
have pretty tight
1900.
invalidation right now then.
It's essentially the weekly candle to the right. Nope, go to the right. That high when we V'd. Yeah. If we start closing back under there, I'd start to get
Okay.
concerned. And then I'd look to like where that node you have, I'd maybe look to get risk on again back on
Yeah,
that
so
node.
like high 15s or lower 16s, if you get that dip on
Yeah.
ETH, that's a
Yeah.
big buy scenario for
And then
sure.
if that, and then that'd be like the point where I'd try and go risk on again to see if we can actually break out of there. But if that fails, then just fuck off for a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because I kind of have the same kind of argument. If like the next major supports didn't hold on Bitcoin, which they obviously did because we got a bounce, but we were if we got below 25, we'd go all the way down towards like 20 or 19. If Bitcoin loses 19k, everybody should pack it up for a while. I think you don't want to be putting risk on. You don't even really want to be trading. You want to be chilling and trying to accumulate money in other ways, probably. But I'm not thinking that
Yeah.
that's a reality, but that's what I'm prepared for just in case. That's like the hard.
Yeah.
Even trading down below 25k though would have me pretty worried, to be honest.
Yeah. Same. Like if we're breaking out of this range after a year with all the good news, I guess, and positive developments, I would be pretty worried. So I'm hoping this weekly can close back up there. Um, like I honestly wouldn't be surprised if the weekly just completely engulfed the sell-off one, but we'll have to see what happens. Maybe I'm too bullish. Guess we'll find out.
Yeah, well, I mean, I hate to word it like this, but I've talked to, maybe I haven't talked on the public stream so much, but I use a lot of my friends as kind of signals. So you're definitely one of the people that like when you're consistently bullish, that does make me want to be more bullish about things. And I have people that are like top signals and stuff too for me, but you're the guy that's when you don't even like get that much engagement, which is the crazy thing. Like I would think that these like you're like hard bull posting saying up only. I would think you would be getting like fucking a billion likes for it. So I pay attention to that. That almost is like tells me that like the
I am
people.
on my fourth account.
That's true. Yeah, people forget about that. Dude, who was it? Was like Elizabeth Warren, right? That was the one I
Yeah, that was
remember
the
at
last
least.
one. Yeah, that was the last one. No, it was Lagarde. It was
Oh yeah, it
Lagarde,
was
the
Lagarde.
lady
Yeah,
of the
yeah.
European Central Bank. I called her a cunt. I got banned in 10 seconds flat.
Damn, dude, they don't play around.
Yeah, that was when
Yeah, you'd actually be a big account on Twitter if you didn't get banned 4 times, 100%.
yeah, it's I don't really is what it is. I kind of like having a little niche thing.
Yeah, I feel you.
But yeah, so yeah, that's about it really. I don't know if anyone has any more questions or if there's anything else you want to talk about. How long we've been going for?
No, I think we're probably, I was going to actually bring that up. We're probably coming up at a stopping point. What I normally do is I say, hey guys, we're going to finish here. If you have any important questions, squeeze them in. So now's the time if you really want to ask Chillin any stuff. Definitely get it in there right now because we'll probably end it soon. But yeah, thanks for coming on, man.
For
Really,
sure, dude.
really
This is
useful
fun.
stuff. So useful to um, hear people's stories about the ups and downs. Everybody just quietly, when we're on our down stage, everybody's just quiet. When you're on your up stage, everybody's fucking obnoxious. And the reality is that there's some sort of balance between the two. Is
Yeah,
what real
I'm
trading looks like.
trying not to be too obnoxious on Twitter anymore. It's just I don't know. There's no sense in I guess being a dick to people and posting cope. Yeah, I'll still post some stuff, but I used to be pretty bad.
Well, there's a difference
Not trying
between
to do
like
that
going on
anymore.
and showing your bias and stuff versus like talking shit to people, like reply guying and saying people are retarded or something. Like you don't do stuff like that. That's where I don't really, vibe with it as much. If you're like going and intentionally going out of your way to tell people that they're wrong and stuff, but you just like chill, and just do your own thing. So
Yeah.
that's huge though,
So
guys. You don't want to get caught too much in other people's shit. I know you guys have heard that a million times on Twitter, but it's a really important lesson. Just don't fixate on the people that are like bearish, right? Like, who gives a fuck if like someone like Capo is just bearish? Like, you should worry about yourself. Like, we don't need to worry about other people. It's just a distraction.
yeah, for sure.
All right, I'm just checking chat to make sure there's no important questions. Let's see here. People in the
It's the
chat are saying
awesome
don't bring attention
oscillator.
to your account. They don't want people to know. Gotta keep it small.
Yeah.
Yes, everybody that's been asking about the VOD, the VOD is definitely going to be available. Don't sweat it. When Hot Tub Stream, when you guys give me 5,000 subs, we'll do a Hot Tub Stream. You got to make it worth my while.
Hot tub stream. That'd be pretty
Of
epic.
course, it's Born asking that. Up or down, sirs? Good luck. Yes, that's the answer.
Yes. All right.
Okay,
Well,
cool,
cool.
man.
I
Well, I
think I'm
think yeah, we
gonna
can
eat
wrap
some
it up there.
lunch.
Well,
Yeah, dude.
yeah, thanks
Thanks for
for
having me.
coming
That was
on.
fun.
I
Never
linked your
done
Twitter,
anything
so
like that.
everybody follow him. And yeah, we're gonna definitely have to do another one of these where we get his screen share working so he can share screens while he's talking. It's just you're gonna pick up on a lot of stuff that way. I'm not trying to mimic what he's talking about on the other screen.
Yeah, we'll do another one.
For sure.
But thanks, brother.
Yeah,
Talk to you
absolutely.
soon.
Cheers, everyone.
Take care, everyone. Bye.